Let's begin, friends. Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha, and it is my honor to be here today facilitating our practice. In the Spokane Sangha, we have a unique meeting format, and we do things a little differently than the standard meeting that you find in the Recovery Dharma book. And my motivation for doing it this way is to take Buddhist practices and principles and study them for an entire month. My other motivation is in recognition that negative habit energy, what many people refer to as substance use disorder or addiction, comes in many forms. We're here because of a negative relationship, usually to drugs or alcohol. But negative habit energy can arise in the way we think, in the way we react, in the stories we tell, in the way we don't stand up for ourselves, in the way we falter at building and maintaining boundaries. So while Buddhist practices and principles can directly, positively affect and our understanding of our relationship to drugs and alcohol, we are endeavoring to make negative habit energy become more universal in our awareness and to apply these practices and principles much more broadly as a way to heal the whole of our lives. I'd like to begin our practice today with a sentiment of metta, loving kindness. And I have this wonderful bowl. This is made with clothesline that's wrapped in fabric and stitched together. And in it are all of these little hand-painted sentiments of metta. This one is painted by a long-term Sangha member way down south. It reads, "May you see clearly thoughts support actions and actions support thoughts." May you see clearly thoughts support actions and actions support thoughts. I'm going to close my eyes and sit nice and tall, and I encourage you to find a posture in your body that feels really at ease today. Maybe find in your body a little joy if you can. And even if your joy, sometimes my joy has a flavor of mischief. So maybe that's your joy today, a little mischief. Maybe your joy is kindness. Maybe you had a good breakfast or luncheon and you feel nurtured. That's your joy. Maybe you had a wonderful walk or workout and your muscles feel strong. That can be a kind of joy. Maybe you had a lovely conversation with someone. Those are all joyful things to bring into the body and allow the body a really stable posture to either sit or lie down to receive this reflection. Turn your gaze inward and bring your full, wise concentration to yourself. And maybe even that invitation stirred up a little inner critic that's like, what? I don't want to focus only on myself. That's selfish. I focus on myself all the time. Blah, 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 blah. Would you look at that? Fascinating, noisy little inner critic. The instruction today is focus on yourself with full permission. For the month of February, friends, in the Spokane Sangha, we are exploring the Four Noble Truths and the second Noble Truth specifically. You might be familiar with the second Noble Truth as there are causes and conditions to our suffering, one of them being craving. We are reimagining that noble truth a little bit. The first noble truth we explored in January, and we took the heavy hand off the word suffering and instead brought forward the word discomfort. There is discomfort. And we also brought forward its opposite. While there is comfort, there is also discomfort. When there's discomfort, there's comfort. There's both. And both can be problematic. When we encounter discomfort, I know I have a propensity to avoid. And when I find something that's comforting, I have a propensity to cling. So I'm often in a perpetual tug of war. I'm either running away or I'm clinging. The second noble truth reminds me that there are reasons for this. There are conditions for this. There are causes for this. Craving is but one. And craving is but one of my discomforts. Today, I'd like to invite us to reflect on a discomfort. And what are the conditions of that? As well as how can you bring some comfort, some ease? What are the conditions of that? What are the tools? What are the ways to bring ease to any discomfort? And I'd like to bring forward a specific example. I've been very inspired this week by a couple of conversations I've had with really wise Sangha members. One of the things we do in the Spokane Sangha and in our Recovery Dharma meetings, when we get to the time for community share, is I intentionally discourage people from using the raised hand feature. And in my intentional instruction, I recognize that I may intentionally activate and stir some discomfort in people, particularly people who really want to share or feel like they really need to share. And here's a tool that I'd like to offer. Actually, there are two. The first is if you are someone who is stirred by that instruction, well, wait a minute, I want to share and I ought to be able to share. And I would simply encourage, would you look at that? Look at that feeling arising within me. And it's probably uncomfortable. And that's the practice right there. Just that little stir, that little irritation, that little annoyance. And then there's the idea of, but I really want to share and I should be able to do that. Or we ought to allow space for people who really want to share to be able to do that. Here's the second tool. Many of you who practice with me have heard this a million times. That's absolutely true. and not the whole truth? What else is true? And that secondary question, what else is true? That's the invitation to come back to myself when I'm feeling activated, when I'm feeling stirred. I want to share. I want to do this. I want to do that. Why is my want so important? What is that all about? What's motivating that? For me personally, it's usually this strange spirit of urgency. And I often feel it activated when I want to talk to one of my kids and they're not ready to talk about whatever issue they're dealing with, but I'm ready and I want to talk about it. And I want to talk about it right now because it's on my mind and I'm worried about them and I'm scared. And do you hear how the rate of my speech has already gone up? It's urgent, it's fearful. And as I heard from a wise friend today, it's almost as if I'm a bellows stoking the flames of my own fires. And you know, if I'm really paying attention and practicing, that's exactly what I'm doing. I feel a sense of urgency and I react urgently. I feel a sense of, I don't even know what the word is for that. It's like grinding and annoyance and, oh, I just got to get it off my chest. And then I bulldoze my way around. Of course, I don't mean to, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So the practice is, whoa, Julia, darling, take a breath. Come back to yourself. What is going on here? Would you look at this? Look at these feelings. Look at this energy. What are you seeking? Why are you seeking it? Where is this coming from? And by giving myself space and time, I change the conditions that I'm experiencing. I've now created the conditions for introspection, reflection, and insight. And suddenly, the conditions that were driving my discomfort now have a little bit more ease. It's like I've opened the window in the stuffiness of my own mind. And I've brought forward a little bit of fresh air. Now, the last thing I'm going to say before we enjoy a few moments of silence is it's very important, if not essential, that when we catch ourselves engaging in behaviors that maybe we don't find particularly noble, we don't like, maybe we feel a little guilty by or ashamed of, or whatever it is, it's so important to not start shooting off all those second arrows. I should know better. Why did I do that? I can't believe I did this again. What's the matter with me? Those are all second arrows. And the invitation here is to create the conditions for understanding. Oh, look at me. I just reacted in a very familiar way that I'm trying to shift and change. Shifting and changing takes time. I'm going to be patient with myself. Oh, there I go again. I was kind of unskillful in that interaction. Yikes. And see, even she has something to say about that. I don't know if you heard her emphatic language. She was like, yeah, Julia, you tell it like it is. We just have to learn to shift our speech toward ourselves and bring in a little bit more kindness, softness, curiosity, joy. So, friends, let's enjoy a few moments to just breathe this in, see how it lands for you. Stir it up if you want to, and enjoy this practice. Friends, I'd like to take a step toward the conclusion of our practice today with the sentiment of metta I read at the beginning. May you see clearly. Thoughts support actions, and actions support thoughts. We're going to end with a dedication of merit on that note, friends. May you be gentle with your mind and heart. And by extension, may you offer that gentility to all living beings. May you broaden your curiosity toward yourself, treating understanding of yourself with joy and peaceful insight. And by extension, may you offer understanding toward others. May your presence be bright and solid. May your tone be soft and lyrical. May your heart remain open. And may you find refuge in the pristine presence of your heart and mind. Thank you for your practice here today, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.